Good evening from high atop Arrowhead Stadium. I am Dan Lucero from 580 Sports Talk, bringing you this Jayhawks instant reaction after the Kansas Jayhawks for a third consecutive week knock off a ranked opponent, this time the 16th ranked Colorado Buffaloes. KU scores on every meaningful possession of the game. They never punt, not once, and they literally run the Buffaloes back to Boulder with a 37-21 victory here this afternoon. It's now 5-6, the record for the Jayhawks, one win shy of bowl eligibility. They can achieve it if they can get a win in Waco against Baylor next Saturday. Thanks for joining us on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, also on Facebook, WIBW News. Appreciate you hanging out with me. If you are watching live, there's a live chat feature. Would love to hear from you, get your thoughts on the contest. Live chat feature on YouTube. You can also comment on Facebook. Also want to welcome those of you who are watching this maybe a little bit later on in your evening, or maybe catching up on our archives on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. Where to begin with this one? I think there's an obvious place to start for the Jayhawks, and it's with Devin Neal, the hometown hero, the real deal, the most prolific running back in KU history. Unbelievable performance from Devin Neal in this one. The final numbers are eye-popping. He sets a career high with 37 carries and gains 207 yards on those rushes with 3 touchdowns on the ground. He also caught 4 passes for 80 yards. That included the 51-yard catch and run on the opening drive of the game that really set the tone for this one for KU. All season long, when we've watched the Jayhawks, even in winning efforts, there's been a feeling of, man, got to get Devin Neal the ball more. Got to do more to get Devin Neal the ball. Got to get him more carries. And today, Lance Leipold and Jeff Grimes said, you want more Devin Neal carries? How about 37 Devin Neal carries? And you know what? That was a pretty good strategy because KU clearly wanted to run the ball and be physical against this Colorado team. Colorado, since the K-State game, had really gotten on a roll, and teams hadn't been able to run the ball on them. Either didn't have the skill set to do it or didn't have the will to do it, didn't stick with it. Some of that was certainly some teams falling behind in games, but KU clearly wanted to come out and run the ball and possess the ball. And what they ended up doing was possessing the ball for 2/3 of this football game, 40 minutes and 11 seconds on time of possession. That is essentially not allowing Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter, the wide receiver, to participate in the football game. That is relegating them to non-participation for 2/3 of the game. And that is how you beat Colorado. You go at them, you be physical with them. That's what K-State did back in Boulder a few weeks back. And that is what the Jayhawks were able to do as a team. 57 rushing attempts for 331 yards. That's 5.8 yards per carry. Give a call to the big guys up front, huh? Bryce Cabledew, Mike Ford, Bryce Foster, Kobe Baines, Logan Brown got hurt. Calvin Clements came in to replace him. Those guys were super all game long, won at the point of attack, physically dominated the Buffaloes in this contest. And Devin Neal was the focal point, as he has been throughout his career. He's the all-time rushing leader. He's the all-time touchdown leader. He's now up to 52 career touchdowns after a 4-touchdown game. That's the first time he's ever accomplished that in a KU uniform. Fitting in his final home game on senior day, he goes out with arguably the single best performance of his KU career. He is indeed, as Christopher calls him in the YouTube live chat, the real deal, and he proved it to the Buffaloes for 60 minutes of football tonight. 40 minutes of possession is impressive. So is this. 7 drives for KU before the drive that ended the game and Jalen Daniels kneeling out they scored on all 7 of those drives. Now, red zone execution was lacking a bit, and Colorado's defense deserves some credit for that. They bowed up in the first half, got 3 big stops inside the 10, forced Tabor Allen to kick 3 chip shot field goals. So a game that Kansas was really dominating, they were only up by 9 at the half, 23-14. And it felt like it could have been a lot worse for Colorado. And indeed, the Buffaloes came out of the locker room, went down and scored and made it a game at 23-21. But the KU defense would stiffen and they would not score again. And KU just executed relentlessly over and over again. Chunk plays, positive plays on the ground. They were 9 for 14 on third down. Jalen Daniels didn't have to throw a ton, but he was really good when he did. 14-21 for 189. He was also awesome on the ground. 72 yards on 6 rushes for JD. Outstanding total offensive performance for Kansas. And you can nitpick a bit at the red zone execution in the first half, and certainly that kept this game from being an even bigger blowout. This was domination by the Kansas offense throughout this game. Colorado hung in because, of course, they did, because they're legitimately good. And look, folks, I'm not interested in having a Heisman Trophy debate with anyone. That trophy belongs to Travis Hunter. That's the best football player in the country. I think it's the best college football player I've ever seen. He had 8 catches for 125 and 2 touchdowns. His first one was a 51-yarder on a screen pass that looked like the easiest thing in the entire world to do. He is special, and he made plays on defense too. He undercut an out route to Luke Grimm that's been easy money for KU all year long, and Hunter almost picked it off. That's the kind of talent he is. There is not a better player in college football than that man, and if the award truly belongs to the best player in college football, it belongs to Travis Hunter. He was great. Colorado's passing attack was really good, as it typically is. Shedeur Sanders had time to throw, found guys down the field. Draylon Miller was a surprise star for CU. He's like their 6th best wide receiver, and he had 5 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown in this game. Colorado didn't get LeJontay Wester involved. Some of that certainly a credit to Kansas and their secondary. And obviously, Colorado did not run the ball. 13 carries, just 42 yards. They tried to run it a couple of times on 3rd and 4th and short in an early game possession. KU got a stop on downs, was able to go down and add to their lead. Took a 17-0 lead after that possession, and really were in full control of the game at that point. Made Colorado have to play catch up the rest of the day. This is not a good result for the Big 12. A couple more thoughts here on our KU instant reaction. This is not a good result. This is not a good day for the Big 12. There's a very real chance, and I haven't checked the Army Notre Dame score, but if Army somehow beats Notre Dame tonight, there's a very real danger that the Big 12 gets 0 teams into the playoff. That could happen. That could really happen. The Big 12 gets 0. As it stands, they're going to get 1 if Army doesn't beat Notre Dame for sure. They're going to get 1. That's all. There's not going to be a single at-large team from the Big 12. The cream did not rise to the top this year in the Big 12 conference. There wasn't any cream, as it turned out. And while that's made for fun and wild games and an entertaining race at the top of the standings, what it also is not is very good national perception of the conference. And that's going to really hurt when it comes to not just this year, but the future perception of the Big 12, that they might only get 1 team in if they get a team in, because it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions. And if Army were to win tonight and run the table and win the AAC, they might get ranked above whoever ends up winning the Big 12. They really might. Hell, Tulane, 2-loss Tulane might be ranked higher than whoever wins the Big 12 if they win the AAC. Like, that's entirely possible. That's a reality the Big 12 needs to brace itself for. This has been a fun season of Big 12 football. Like, the on-field product has been fun, but you got to have great teams, and you had to have teams separate themselves and be clearly great. And that has not happened with Iowa State and Kansas State, and now BYU hitting the skids late. Now Colorado's got 3 losses. It's not good for the conference. It's not good for their chances to make the playoff. I know that is frustrating, not the outcome Brett Yormark wanted in year 1 of this college football playoff, but it is pretty inevitable at this point that the Big 12 only get 1 team at most into the playoff. And a big part of that reason is Kansas has played spoiler. This Jayhawk team, man, 1-5 through the first half of their season. And they could have packed it in. They could have moped. They could have felt sorry for themselves. But we saw what meant to these seniors, not just today, but throughout this late season run. We saw that the culture of this team is in fact strong. We saw that the belief in the locker room is in fact strong. And we have seen this team play better and better as the season has gone on. They have really upset the apple cart with their wins over Iowa State, BYU, and Colorado the last 3 weeks. If that doomsday scenario comes around and there are no Big 12 teams in the playoff, it's Kansas's fault. Just directly, it is the Jayhawks' fault. But they have played great football. They have rounded into being the team that we thought they were going to be from the very start of the season. And this was their best performance yet on both sides of the ball. They firmed up defensively in the second half, made the adjustments they had to make late in the game, started getting to Shedeur Sanders and impacting that Colorado passing attack, and offensively they were brilliant. Like I said, all those rushing yards, 40 minutes time of possession, scored on every drive except for the one where they kneeled out the clock. Truly an impressive performance and a senior day to remember for this lengthy and talented and accomplished senior class. But They can't sit on their laurels. They've got to enjoy this one for the rest of the night and then get serious about Baylor, because Baylor has been playing really good football down the stretch as well. And if KU's not careful, Baylor might turn this into being all for naught when it comes to bowl eligibility. So KU's going to have to be on their game, certainly offensively, as Baylor has averaged 45 points a game in their last half of the season. So it won't be easy, but KU has the opportunity, and that's all you could have asked for when they were 1-5. They have the opportunity to attain bowl eligibility, and they have beaten a ranked team for 3 consecutive weeks after beating Colorado today. We'll have more about this on 580 Sports Talk coming up on Monday. You can catch that on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9 in Topeka, and of course on these same video channels. That's going to do it for me from Arrowhead Stadium. Thanks for tuning in and checking us out. Appreciate Mark H. and Jeffrey and Christopher joining the YouTube live chat. Thank you for watching. Thank you all for listening, and have a great rest of your weekend. This is Dan Lucero saying good night from Arrowhead Stadium.